Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are digging into a whole stack of sources, all focused on one thing, really.
That's right.
The obsession, the quest for that perfect, consistent bass tone. And more specifically, we're looking at the BISS BC1X bass comp.
A truly game-changing pedal from back in 2015.
It really was. So our mission today is to figure out how this little standard-sized pedal managed to completely redefine bass compression.
And the answer, really, is in that technology at its core, the multidimensional processing, or MDP, as most people call it.
Right. We want to understand how this little box gets a sound that before you'd only get from, massive, expensive studio mastering gear.
Well, and that's the big question, isn't it? It's the central conflict.
Yeah.
You talk to any seasoned engineer about transparent, artifact-free multiband compression, and they're pointing at a huge rack of gear.
Thousands of dollars worth of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the skepticism is immediate. How on earth can a little four-knob pedal sitting right there on your board even compete?
How does it break that rule?
Well, it breaks it by just throwing out the old analog playbook and using modern digital processing, but in a really, really smart way.
Okay.
To get the BC1X, you have to first understand what's wrong with old-school compression, especially on a bass guitar.
So set the stage for us. What's the main pain point for a bassist using a traditional single-band compressor?
It's all about inconsistency and artifacts, things you don't want to hear.
Okay.
Think about it. Your low strings, your E or your B string, they carry just a massive amount of energy, huge, slow sound waves.
Right.
When a traditional compressor hears that big low-end signal, it panics and clamps down on the entire signal, the whole thing.
Which means?
Which means your big, fat, low E triggers the compression. But in squeezing that low note, it also needlessly crushes your mids and your treble.
Ah, so it's not very surgical.
Not at all. And then when the note fades out, the compressor lets go, and you get that awful pumping sound, that sudden volume shift, or it just feels squashed and, frankly, dead.
So the solution is MDP. We've all heard the term multidimensional processing. What does that actually mean? How is it different from just, say, multiband compression?
Well, standard multiband is an improvement, for sure. It splits your signal into a few chunks low, mid, high, and puts a separate compressor on each one. But it's still a bit rigid.
Okay.
MDP is. It's a huge leap forward. It's not just processing a few bands. It's analyzing multiple dimensions of your playing in real time.
Multiple dimensions? What do you mean?
I mean, it's looking at everything. It's looking at the amplitude, how loud you're playing. It's looking at the frequency content, where the energy is. And this is the key. It's analyzing the time dynamics.
The time dynamics. So how fast the note appears.
How fast it appears, how long it sustains. It's analyzing all of that to create a compression map that is constantly adapting to what you're playing, note by note.
And that's the light bulb moment, isn't it?
It is.
So if I dig in hard on a low E, the pedal sees low frequency, it sees a slow attack, and it treats it one way.
Right.
But if I immediately pop a high harmonic, it sees a high frequency, a super sharp attack, and it treats that completely differently.
Precisely. The compression on that low note might be pretty heavy to keep it solid, but the compression way up in the high mids might be incredibly light, almost non-existent, to keep that harmonic sounding clear and articulate.
So it's only applying the squeeze exactly where it's needed and only when it's needed.
That is why bass players call it transparent. The gain reduction is only happening in the specific frequency range that crosses the threshold. Nowhere else.
And that gets us right back to avoiding those artifacts, the pumping and all that.
Absolutely. Because that low end is being managed separately, you can compress it really hard to get a super punchy, consistent foundation, and you will never hear that awful sucking sound that just ruins traditional compressors. The tone just stays wide, full, and solid.
That kind of sophistication suggests there's a pretty serious computer inside that little box. Let's get into the architecture and the controls, because for a pedal doing so much complex work, the outside looks incredibly simple.
Oh, it's totally deceptive. Inside the BC1X is a full-on digital signal processing engine. It's pro-grade stuff, which is why it has a really high headroom input.
That's non-negotiable for bass, right?
100%. It doesn't matter if you're plugging in a vintage P-Bass or some 18-volt active six-string with a scorching hot output. The pedal just handles it. No clipping, no unwanted distortion.
And what about that hidden complexity? You don't see separate attack and release knobs. The pedal's doing that intelligently. How does that work in practice?
That's a huge part of the magic. The DSP calculates the perfect attack time on the fly based on what you're playing.
Okay.
It knows the difference between a slow, swelling fingerstyle note and a sharp, percussive slap. and it instantly applies the ideal attack speed to tame the peak without killing that initial hit.
Wow.
You'd need a physics degree to dial that in manually across multiple bands.
Yeah.
It's just doing it for you.
So the intelligence is just baked in, and the player just has to set the big picture. So let's run through those 4 knobs: level, release, ratio, and threshold.
Okay, starting with level. It's simple but crucial. It's your output volume, your makeup gain. Compression lowers your volume, so this just brings it back up. And the level control on this pedal is designed to be perfectly neutral. No added color.
And since the attack is automatic, we only have to think about the release.
Exactly. And the release knob becomes your main tool for shaping the feel of the compression. If you set it fast, you get a really tight, modern, punchy sound.
Okay.
If you slow it down, you get the smoother recovery where the note can sort of breathe and bloom a bit more. It's more musical, you could say.
The ratio is just how much you're squashing the signal. Low for a little bit, high for a lot.
Right. But what's amazing is that even when you push the ratio really high, into limiting territory, the BC1X stays clean. No messy artifacts. You can use it as a totally transparent limiter, which is incredible.
And threshold is the sensitivity, just setting the point at which the compressor kicks in.
Yep. You use threshold and ratio together to dial in just how much smoothing you actually want.
But for me, the absolute hero of the hardware is that gain reduction LED meter. I mean, a real useful GR meter on a compact pedal is so rare.
It's invaluable. It really is. You just can't dial in this kind of complex compression by ear alone, not in a loud room or at a weird stage.
No way.
That little 4 LED meter gives you instant, accurate feedback on how hard the pedal is actually working. It takes all the guesswork out of it. It's what makes it a pro tool you can actually use live.
Okay, let's pivot a bit and talk about the tonal profile, the so what of all this tech. If you had to describe the core sound of the BC1X, what words come to mind?
Transparent, consistent, quiet, and just wide bandwidth. It sounds full, it sounds solid, and most importantly, it sounds like your bass just
And better.
more ready for a record.
So it's less of an effect and more like a permanent polish that you apply to the instrument itself?
That's the perfect way to put it. It's not supposed to be an audible effect like a chorus or a fuzz. It's more like invisible glue. It just makes sure every single note you play, no matter how hard or soft, hits the mixing desk at a perfect, consistent level.
Which makes the sound engineer's life a whole lot easier.
Oh, they love it. And it makes your bass just sound more authoritative in the mix.
Let's break that down for different playing styles, because that versatility is a huge reason why so many different kinds of players use it.
For sure. Take a slap bass. That's a classic compressor nightmare.
Right?
Slap is all about that sharp, high-mid clack of the transient, followed by the big low-end note. A normal compressor just kills that initial snap.
It squashes it.
It squashes it. But the BC1X lets that percussive attack slip through the high-frequency band almost untouched, so you keep all that clarity. But at the same time, the low-frequency band clamps down hard on the boomy part of the note.
So you get all the punch without the mud.
Maximum punch, zero distortion.
And what about for fingerstyle players? People who live and die by their dynamic touch.
That's where the mid-range processing is so important. With fingerstyle, all the expression is in the dynamics. If you squash the whole signal, you lose that.
You can't play soft and then dig in.
Exactly. Because the BC1X is handling the low end separately, it can leave those crucial mids mostly alone, just applying a tiny bit of gain reduction when it's needed. It preserves your playing intent while still evening out the overall volume.
Okay, let's put some settings to this. If you're a player in a worship setting or doing studio work and you want that really smooth, polished feel, what are you dialing in?
That's like compression. You're using a low ratio, maybe a pretty high threshold. You just want the meter to blink at you a little bit on the loudest notes.
Just kissing the signal.
Just kissing it. The goal is just subtle leveling, giving the bass a kind of studio-grade sheen without killing the natural feel.
And for that medium compression sweet spot, rock, pop, funk.
There you're getting a bit more active. You'd lower the threshold, maybe bump the ratio a little.
Yeah.
You'd see 2 or 3 of those LEDs light up consistently.
Okay.
Now, the goal is controlled dynamics. Your notes are still punchy. They cut through. But they sit perfectly in the mix. They never jump out and get overpowering.
And then taking it all the way. Heavy compression, basically using it as a limiter for, say, aggressive metal or modern pick playing.
And that's where you really appreciate that it's digital. You can crank the ratio all the way up, get an extremely tight brick-walled sound.
And it doesn't fall apart.
It doesn't fall apart. It does it without any of that volume pumping or weird artifacts you'd get from pushing an old analog pedal that hard. It just stays clean, modern, and relentlessly consistent. which is exactly what you need in a dense, loud mix.
Given all of that, let's talk about its significance. It sounds like this thing became a legend pretty fast.
It really did. It basically set a new standard for what a compact utility pedal could be. It's a go-to recommendation for touring pros, for studio guys, and especially for worship bassists who really value that clean, transparent control.
It sort of legitimized BOS's whole MDP line, didn't it?
It absolutely did. It proved that BOS could make these sophisticated digital tools that could go head-to-head with expensive boutique brands.
So it's really seen as a true always-on pedal, the last thing in your chain before the amp or DI.
Exactly. It's that final polish. It ensures that what you're sending out to the world is the absolute best, most consistent version of your bass tone.
Okay, so let's be critical for a second. It can't be for everyone. Who is this pedal not for? What are the trade-offs?
The biggest trade-off is color, or the lack of it. This is a clean, modern digital compressor through and through.
Right.
So if you're a player who wants that vintage tubey warmth, that sort of gooey, character-rich sound of an old LA2A,
This isn't it.
this is not your pedal. Its entire goal is surgical clarity, not vintage coloration.
Yeah.
It's trading that warmth for absolute fidelity.
And that leads to a really interesting point from the sources, that it can sometimes be too honest.
Yes, that's a fascinating side effect.
Yeah.
Because the clarity is so high, it doesn't hide anything. If you have sloppy technique, if you have a lot of fret buzz or uneven attack,
It's not going to cover that up for you.
it's going to polish it up and present it clearly to everyone listening.
So your pristine, even tone actually reveals every single flaw in your playing. That's an interesting idea.
It is. It kind of turns it into a precision monitoring tool. You know, a warm optical compressor might naturally round off some of that string noise, but the DC-1X preserves it.
So it forces you to be a better player.
In a way, yes. It's a surprising benefit. It demands precision from you, and in return, it gives you incredible power and consistency.
So to wrap it all up, the BOSS BC1X Bass Comp basically cracked the code on getting studio-level multi-band compression into a little pedal using its MDP technology. It delivers clean, powerful, consistent tone that just makes your bass sound professionally managed and mix-ready without any of the bad stuff from older gear.
It really is a milestone pedal. It just ensures your bass is ready for anything. And the bigger thought here for music production in general is, well, it's pretty fascinating.
Go on.
When tools this complex, tools that used to define what a professional studio even was, become this small and this accessible because of tech like MDP,
Yeah.
it kind of changes the whole definition of gear, doesn't it?
So, is that line between a high-end studio rack and a pedal board just permanently blurred now? Has DSP given musicians on stage a level of processing power that would have been science fiction a generation ago? That's something to think about the next time you see a whole studio's worth of power sitting right there at your feet.